out, we will spend a few minutes with Coach, then a few minutes with our student athletes. So who would like the first question for head coach David Cutcliffe? We will start, Coach, to your left, third row. We will work to make sure that microphone is on.
I think he squeezed it to death. Look at those muscles, man.
Get it regripped.
Held them no first downs in the first quarter, and till they had a fake punt that worked, you were dominating the game. From that promising start, what were some of the factors that happened to cause Duke's season to get away from you?
That's the first time I've been asked that question. We asked ourselves that quite a bit as we reviewed during the season. I thought we played well. We were healthier than we had been. We had an unusual off season where 140 days our team was not together and couldn't come to campus. And so I think there were so many different factors, but in the end, as I viewed it, I learned a lot of lessons for a 45th year of coaching, just how important my job as a head coach is of putting everybody in the best position they could be in. There are no excuses. You go play to win, and regardless of what your team looks like. So I think I learned that the culture, the chemistry of a team is built from January. I've had an old saying that there's an old farmer saying that you plant well in the spring or beg well come fall. And I think I realized more and more how critically important planning from January all the way through the summer is to be able to sustain a season. I'm very proud of those young people. Their commitment to each other was impressive. I wished I would have put them in a better position to be successful, but I think that all that we went through will be a part of who we are the rest of our lives, and so I'm not going to blow that season off as a loss. I think we learned a great deal.
Coach, to your right, about fifth row in the middle.
Coach, good to see you again. Ewan McCreath, Herb FM Sports Radio. Coach, you led the nation in turnovers last year. How do you emphasize and discipline and get that message to your team about ball security?
That is not the first time I've heard that question. Rightfully so. You know, obviously we have studied that. I've never had an issue with that in my career until the last 2 years. And again, that goes back to habits. It goes back to a head coach. You select the people on the staff, the players, everybody involved, and then you create a practice schedule that creates good habits if you're doing a good job. But then most importantly, you evaluate it. So I've gone back and looked at practice tape, just random Tuesday and Wednesday practices. And if you're not doing everything you should do, every drill matters when it comes to ball security. It matters that your team, and I believe these young men believe me, they have to do a better job of giving them ownership. If you rant and rave about ball security, it's like being in a slump, or when I couldn't hit free throws or whatever. The more you hear negative, maybe the tougher it gets to get out of that slump. And so I'm asking our squad to own their habits. I'm asking our staff collectively to own that habit, but my job, it still falls on David Cutcliffe to ensure as a head football coach this is all happening right. So I take full responsibility, and if you don't take care of the football, you're not going to win. And that's been the biggest issue we have faced on the scoreboard. The only statistic that really matters is points per game. And I don't know of anything that affects it more than turning the ball over, because every one of those you're not scoring.
Coach, directly in front of you to your left.
Coach Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Name, image, and likeness is something that is obviously surrounding all of collegiate athletics right now. being a coach as you have for so many years around college football, what can you say about what you know of it and what you think of it as we step forward?
I've been fortunate to serve on different NCAA committees, including the Football Oversight Committee, had a lot of previous conversation. I think it's a great thing that a player has the opportunity to own and build their image. I told our players, name, image, and likeness, we used to call it reputation. Let's not forget that as you build this. The intention is for a player to be able to build an image and benefit from it. And there's a lot of ways you can do it. Through even social media, you don't need representation. You can give private lessons at an appropriate time. What you can't do with name, image, and likeness is get so carried away with it that you erode your image. It can be a dangerous thing. It also should not be a part of the recruiting climate. I winced when I saw a quote from a state legislator that said, we got to get this law passed. This is hurting us in recruiting. That's not the intent of this. The intent, again, is ownership that's earned, and that's a fair assessment of life. So I think my job as a coach is to really try to help parents and players understand, not only once they're in your program, but in the recruiting process, that this is not a good selection of a school based on if that's what you're looking for. That's never been the premium value of college football. It's been my whole life, college football. So I embrace the opportunity. I think it's great, but I think a lot of people are going to have to learn how to manage it, not just players, families, coaches, media. There's a lot of responsibility to our great game to make sure that we're very good to our players with this in an appropriate manner.
Coach, to your right, hard right, about fourth row.
Hi, Coach. Tom Shanahan report. Can you walk us through the recruitment of Gunnar Holmberg and then his progress to this point?
Well, Gunnar started recruiting me. No, I'm just kidding, Gunnar. Gunnar came in to quarterback camp and was just so impressive as an athlete, as an enthusiastic young quarterback. Right off the bat, I don't know if you remember this, Gunnar, but your 40 was 4.5, and it popped my eyes wide open. And his character, and then as we recruited Gunnar, the story surrounding Gunnar ending up in our area, getting to know his mom and what a great mom she had been after Gunnar's father had lost his life, and just how close the three, his sister and his mom and he were throughout all of this, and watching him develop not only as a player, but as a person has been extremely important for me. And to see his mother celebrate his success, and he's a graduate student. Can you believe that? I never got to be a graduate student, and my grades got in the way. I'd have been a Rhodes Scholar if it hadn't been for my grades, Gunnar. But he's a graduate student, and just really proud of him.
Coach, we're going to go to the left side in the far back. If the gentleman would please stand up.
Alex Jackson, the Duke Chronicle. Coach, there's a lot of turnover on the roster this year. You guys are bringing back just under half your starters. What positional group are you looking forward to most see progress this season?
Yeah, it depends upon how you look at our team as far as the number of starters returning. I think the biggest challenge that we would face is the loss in the defensive line. But we got a lot of young talent. We've got more depth than we've had at that position. Competition always strengthens a team. And so, you know, Dwayne and I have talked a lot about that recently. He obviously is a very experienced player, but I'm excited about what they're going to do. I'm excited about every position we have. Really, I think this team, since we've been at Duke, and this is going into year 14, has the most balance and competition at every position. And that has always, in my past, made a football team better.
Coach, you've got a question to your right in the third row.
Brett Friedlander, North State Journal. Dave, last year the ACC went with no divisional play, and this year you're back to divisions. Having experienced both now, which do you prefer, or does it even really matter?
Yeah, I personally I've been a part of division play in the Southeastern Conference. I think it creates more excitement for the players to have the opportunity to win a division championship. So you get into November where college football gets really serious, where champions are determined. You're going to end up having 5 or 6 teams in the hunt for an opportunity to be an ACC champion with division play, and I think it's the better way to go. It's no different than you'd see in professional sports. You're trying to win your division, and so I think it's much more player-friendly than the other way.
Your last question, Coach, is going to come to the right, about 6th row. Gentleman's going to raise his hand or stand up.
Justin Jones, Carolina Gridiron. You're opening with 2 Friday games on the schedule, and when you talk about forming habits and routine, what does that mean for your preparation, and do you think it's an advantage for you to start off with the Friday games, whereas other teams have those later in the season?
Yeah, you know, we've got 2 Fridays and a Thursday. They present challenges. If we're going to play on Fridays, and we are in college football, then I do like Friday rather than a Saturday and then a Friday, et cetera. The short weeks are what gets hard. But I don't think there's any advantage to any of it. I do think early in the season, if I'm going to do it, I'd rather do it there because we do have a little time as a staff on Saturday to really evaluate the game, catch up, and then you got a Sunday following that. But I've gone into a lot of detail with our practice schedules already. It requires a lot of overtime work in the summer. So it is always going to be a challenge to play on a non-traditional day.
Coach, thank you. We'll ask that you switch places with Dwayne. We'll bring Dwayne up for a couple of minutes, questions and answers. Again, if you've already identified yourselves to one of our personalities, please reintroduce yourself for the next person up. We're going to start on the right side here on the 3rd row. So, Dwayne, your first question is going to come, gentleman with the flowered shirt. Sorry.
They're bananas, not flowers.
Bananas, sorry. Again, it's a little bit darker the further you get into the room, so.
Brett Friedlander, North State Journal. Dwayne, last year you played in stadiums that were basically empty. What was that like, and how much are you looking forward to actually having crowds, and how much does that add to the experience?
Yes, sir. Great question. I mean, when I've answered this earlier today, I said the most thing I'm looking forward to is actually having my mother and my father back in the stands to witness a lot of my firsts, which they missed last year. I mean, it kind of weighs on you when you run to a stadium, especially your home stadium, and you got people doing the wave, but it's cardboard cutouts. So it's like it doesn't play. And you know how crowds can play and the momentum swings into a game and everything else that goes into it. I mean, it's going to be a great feeling.
So, Dwayne, right in front of you, 1st row to your left.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Chris and Victor moved on to the NFL. What did you take away from both of those gentlemen on and off the field?
Yeah, so most importantly, on the field, I took away from both of those guys, I mean, just how they pursue the quarterback, how they pursue the running back, how they just play and give their all every snap, no matter what the score may be. And then off the field, in the film room, I have a very intelligent position coach named Benjamin Albert, who imparts that knowledge on them, and then seeing how they carry themselves in the film room, how they prepare, how they study teams, how they study scheme, how they study individual players. I mean, it's just something that kind of stuck with me from day one. So, I mean, that's really what I took most away from them.
I'm going to go back to your left, Dwayne, about the 3rd row. Gentleman being handed the microphone right about now.
Bob Holliday, WRO.com. Wayne, every school that you face has an experienced quarterback. I don't think I've ever seen so much quarterback experience in the league before. How does that complicate your preparation as a defensive player going against an experienced quarterback?
Yes, sir. So actually, going back to my recruiting days, my parents and I, we talked about how the ACC is so wide open and how it's just straight athletes back there. So pursuing the quarterback week in and week out will be something that we prep for every single year. But this year in specific, I mean, you got guys from UNC, Miami, Georgia Tech, whoever it may be. Then we had game plan, put in different schemes, different games, and you kind of have to adjust how you pursue the quarterback in terms of when you do get back there on those wide open things, you can't just run out because you know those guys will be able to spin, break more tackles. I mean, they're more elusive. So then it just plays into the mind game and the mental game of the game each week. So that's really what it is, more mental preparation from our coaches, which they do a great job.
Dwayne, question from the podium. 419 points allowed last year. So what are the key elements in practice this year to get that number as low as it can be on game day?
Yes, sir. So this year what you're going to see from this defense is a defense that's like to fly around, run to the ball, play hard, and we're going to be disciplined. And one of the emphasis for us is tackling as well as stopping the run. So that's where we lacked in the back half of the season. So this year the focus is our discipline and conditioning, our strength. So when we get down the line and you get in November, December, whatever it may be, we're not going to have those lapses.
Anything else for Dwayne? Dwayne, thank you. Why don't we switch places with Mateo? Give our running back a few minutes. And we've already got a question that's ready to go here on the front row. So Mateo, as you get settled, we're going to start here on the front row to your right.
Hey, Lawrence Davis, Spectacular Magazine. Last year you shared the backfield with Dion. How are you preparing this year to kind of be the main focus of the backfield?
The key is more preparation. You know, I still dig into Dion a lot. I'll call him. I ask him tips on, you know, how he prepared for the upcoming season. And now the onus is on me as one of the oldest backs in the room is to help everyone else prepare also.
Mateo, to your left, it'll be about the seventh row gentleman that's going to raise his hand high in the air. There we go.
Mateo, how you doing? JB Ricks here with Spectrum News 1. I wanted to ask you about Gunnar Holmberg. This will be his first year. We projected to be the starter this coming fall. How has he looked to you during spring, off season, and do you think he'll be ready to take on the leadership role as the quarterback of this team?
Yes, sir. Gunnar he's literally always looked great. I've known Gunnar since a junior in high school. You know, we've always built that relationship, and now I'm glad that he's going to be able to get the opportunity to showcase his skills because he's a very talented quarterback. He's an unquestionable leader, and he always, you know, makes sure the team is fine, whether it's on the field or outside the field. So I'm ready for him to be able to get his opportunity to shine.
Mateo, we'll stay on the left side, gentleman in the back standing.
Alex Jackson, the Duke Chronicle. Without Dion, what have you done this offseason to prepare your body physically for the increased workload that you're going to have to face?
I've just been able to, you know, get in prehab and rehab, make sure, you know, everything is great, and also get the younger players ready who are under me, you know, because you never know what's going to happen. So, you know, preparation is always key. Me and the younger players will go out. We'll do a lot of individual drills and a lot of things that we need to work on prior to the season. So that'll also help build the depth in the backfield, which we have.
Mateo, right in front of you there in the first row.
Mateo, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Going into this season, knowing what you've been able to accomplish already at Duke, but having to share that backfield as you had spoken about, leadership-wise, where have you gained the most skill, so to speak, maybe on and off the field, and what should we expect from you this year?
Leadership-wise, I've grown as a leader, being that I am one of the most experienced backs in our running back room. So I talk to a lot of younger players on things that we need on the field and outside the field, because if you act right outside the field, you know, they'll relay over. So we just building more trust and everything. And for the upcoming season, I'm just focused on winning as a team. You know, the individual things to come, but the most important thing is winning.
Mateo, from the podium, how much does a crowd affect the way that you prepare and how well you play a game? What does crowd factor? How does that factor into it?
Crowd factor, you know, it's a big thing, especially when you go into stadiums like Virginia Tech and Miami. You know, the crowd's always lively, so you know it's just a discipline factor that you have to be able to lock in and be able to know your plays, what your game plan is, and be prepared to run any play that you can.
Anything else for Mateo from the room? Seeing none, we'll have you switch places with Gunnar. And Gunnar, you will get the last chance here on the podium today for the Blue Devils. From the room, first question for Gunnar is going to come to our right, hard right at the edge.
Hey, Gunnar, Tom Shanahan report. I got a two-part question for you. Your cousin Maddie almost made the Olympic team. So first part is who's the best athlete in the family.
Yeah.
And then the second part is you have a lot of college athletes over generations in your family. Do you take that for granted, or does that motivate you?
Yeah, no, first of all, I want to thank you for that article you wrote. I think that was a great article. I appreciate you telling my story and letting my mom get in on that. And yeah, no, Maddie's a stud. We've all been track runners. I ran track up until high school. And she's always been fast. We go against each other. I think nowadays she might give me, so I'll give that crown to Maddie. And yeah, of course, growing up, I think that's really what gave my love to college football and to just football in general. Always hearing stories about my uncle who played at Penn State, was a linebacker under Joe Paterno. I'm always learning from him, wanting to, kind of see what that experience was like. It was really cool to learn from, and especially nowadays, when he's always just a phone call away. I can reach out to him if I have any questions, worried about calming the nerves, just kind of like, he played quarterback in high school, but he was a linebacker, like I said, at Penn State. But, he knows a lot about football, so if I have questions about the game, I can reach out to him. So definitely a guy that's good to have in my corner.
Gunners, we set you up for your next question. If you'll take about a half step closer to the microphone, that'd be great. You're good.
Yeah, I got you. Appreciate it.
You're good. Front row right there in front of you.
Gunner Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. David Cutcliffe has known how to train a quarterback or two. What's it like to have this coach at this position for you, knowing everything that he's done historically with quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the main reason I came to Duke was to learn under Coach Cutcliffe. I got to meet Peyton and Eli over the weekend, going to the Manning Passing Academy, and just kind of seeing their knowledge on the game. It seems like almost like a mirror. It's all stuff I've heard from Coach Cut. So that was really good to see, and just kind of see it come into fruition and see just how real it is. And also, learning from Daniel, I think was really cool. Just seeing the way he attacked the film room, seeing the way, he worked, off the field, and the way he treated people, I think was big time. And it's all stuff that Coach Cut preaches. So really just being able to see guys, put it into the real world and put it on the field, I think is big time. And, just very grateful to be underneath them.
Stay to your left there, Gunner, third row.
Bob Halliday, WRL.com. Gunner, I got to see some of your games, covering them in high school. I remember against Wake Forest, that would be Wake Forest High School, but they were still really good. You led 2 impressive touchdown drives at a time when Wake Forest wasn't letting anybody score. Can you talk about, and they, of course, 3-time state champions?
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Can you talk about the learning curve from that moment, which was a pretty high level, to being the quarterback at Duke University? What have you had to absorb and adapt to?
Yeah, I think just knowing that, everybody on this league is going to be very talented, similar to, Wake Forest High School, a very talented team. Guys like Dexter Lawrence and all them went there. So playing against them was always a really good time. But I think just even now, I guess my freshman year, understanding how much you have to learn, not even the opposing team's defense, but your own offense, just how long that takes to learn and the learning curve in that. And seeing a guy like Daniel who just had total command over it, and Quentin Harris and their command over the offense, I think was big time. But yeah, like I said, I think even the time it took for me to get here, I've always said it's a blessing in disguise, and just from giving me time to be able to be very comfortable with our offense. I've been in the system enough to where I've seen, what type of defenses guys in our division play, and be comfortable with them and familiar with them. So like I said, I think, the learning curve, it took a little bit, but like I said, I think, learning from guys before me helped out a lot.
Gunner, we're going to stay on the left side. We're going to hustle with 2 questions. The first one's going to come from the gentleman raising his hand.
Hey, Gunner, JB Ricks here from Spectrum News 1. Thanks for taking out this time.
Yeah.
It's highly publicized, the adversity you've had to deal with off the field, when it comes to family and injuries. How has everything you've been through off the field prepared you for your next challenge, which will be becoming the starting quarterback in the ACC?
Yeah, no, I think that goes a long way, dealing with adversity throughout your life. And, I've always said it, when you go to college football, the program you walk into, it's probably never going to go the way you planned it. And I think, I learned that from Daniel and from Quinn, and just hearing their stories, and even, people within my family that have played college football and have played, just a bunch of sports, and seeing the adversity they've gone through and how you handle it. And I think it also helps you kind of step back from the game for a little bit and understand, it's really just the game you love and the game you grew up playing. So just really enjoy it, embrace it. Like I said, it's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I'm just trying to enjoy the ride while I'm here.
To the very back, Alex will stand up again.
Alex Jackson, the Duke Chronicle. What adjustments to your game have you been most focused on refining as you prepare for stepping into the starting role?
Yeah, I think just being consistent and being confident, whether that's, telling the play to the guys in the huddle, Being consistent with things like accuracy, ball security was, of course, a big focus for us in spring coming off this season. And really just being a guy that guys on the team can ask any question to regarding the offense, whether that's an O-lineman, a running back, a wide receiver, and just always making sure I have the right answer to that so I can help them out and, continue to fulfill my shoes as the leader of this team this upcoming season.
Gunnar, your last question from here at the podium. Beyond points on the scoreboard, how do you define win?
Yeah, I think you define win, of course, what Coach Cutt said, points per game. But I think it's also, what you take out of that game, what you learn from it. If you lose a game, a close game, which, pretty much every game in this division is going to be a close game coming down to the fourth quarter, you have to learn to take away from that, kind of your mistakes, what you did well. I think you can learn a lot from your team and kind of the style that you guys want to play from that. But like I say, I think it all comes down to just what you can take away from that game and implement that into your next week and just try and build on wins, I think, because at the end of the day, that's what we're playing for.
Gunnar, thank you.
Thank you.
Duke, good luck this season. Folks, Virginia is due up in the room next at 2:30.